Updog.
Updog. Updog.
Updog Sports Talk.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Updog Sports Talk. I am your host, Matt Miller, and next to me, that way, is Justin McGovern. How you doing, Justin?
Doing good. Getting excited for this NFL season. It feels like it's right around the corner. Matt, what are we going to dive into today?
We are going to dive into the AFC West.
Ooh.
The actual wild. Well, I guess it's not wild. There's not that much competition. Never mind.
Might not be as wild as
Why don't we just jump in instead of ruin the whole thing?
If we start with talk about the AFC West, there's one team we have to start out with first, and that is Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. Last year, they were not as good as they were in the playoffs the year before, but pretty much anytime they needed to turn it on, they could until the Super Bowl. Now they face the challenge of back to the Super Bowl again. Teams who have made the Super Bowl the previous year do not have a good record, but this is a whole different animal that we're dealing with here, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah. There's a little bit more competition this year in the AFC West, but I don't really think they'll really, contend with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to be Super Bowl contenders as long as Pat Mahomes is healthy. Yeah. And Andy Reid is the coach there. Eric Bieniemy is still there, right?
Yeah, of course.
There's no excuse for them not to make the Super Bowl. So
they brought like almost everyone back. Like I think Sammy Watkins, like the only person that's gone from that.
Ooh.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back at running back. I feel like he actually might be better off with Le'Veon Bell out of there.
Because he doesn't have to split carries now.
As it turned out, and we did not realize it at the time, everyone thought pretty much was over for the NFL when Bell signed with them. But in all reality, Bell really did more harm in this backfield than he did help. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is playing pretty well at the beginning of the year. As soon as the got downhill there.
Edwards-Helaire will have a breakout year. I mean, he had a great year last year, but he's probably going to have a breakout year this year.
But what the hell happened to Travis Kelce? If anyone
Kels. I was actually looking forward to this video for so long because he came out earlier this offseason and said, it's not Kelsey, it's Kels. And everyone's called him that since like junior high.
No, it got me there too. What happened to him? Dude is like, oh yeah, it's Kels, not Kelsey. He shows up with like a clean, trimmed face, which just does not look good to be as awful as it was if I shaved mine off. Like what that was I was seeing there. Like
I think it's gonna come back halfway through the season. I think he's gonna miss it. Like it looked like he just like lost all of his swag. I don't know what is up, but like he just lost all of it.
He did not look like one of the best, if not the best tight end in the NFL, and instead just looked like some average guy you see on the street. But obviously
defense
work on for this team is the offensive line fell apart late in the year. That was their downfall.
They got rid of like part of their offensive line too. Eric Fisher is now in
Indy.
Yeah.
And they did
for Jake Fisher.
New guys.
Whatever his name is.
No, Eric Fisher was correct. But yeah, they tried making some signings in the offseason. We'll see how those pan out. Definitely a lot of veterans in there now. We're not sure they're past their prime or not, but and then on the defense, their defense played pretty well last year. It's not going to set the world on fire, but it does the job.
Yeah. One final thing I'll say about them is pass rush. It doesn't seem like they have the best pass rush in the world anymore. So they're going to have to get going a little bit more with that to kind of give their safeties a break because Tom Brady just torched them in the Super Bowl. So I think it's everyone's clear favorite in the AFC to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, definitely.
Who we got next?
Time to move on here. We have up next. I almost called them San Diego Diego. They are the Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert. This team was pretty much good enough to be in every single game last year, but their previous head coach, Anthony Lynn, we have made fun of him in his poor game management skills on this show multiple times. He is now out of there. Now with Brandon Staley in the fold, can the Los Angeles Chargers improve?
I think so. Brandon Staley came over from the Sean McVay coach tree over in the other part of Los Angeles. He was on the Pat McAfee show, and he won me over when he was in LA for the Rams. He won me over even more. Like, I'm actually excited to watch Chargers football because of Brandon Staley. Justin Herbert has a strong future. They still have a pretty good receiving core. They have a strong team. Their defense just lost them the game because they didn't have any help in the secondary. So Derwin James coming back is going to be huge.
Yeah, it'll be helpful. Definitely just staying healthier in the secondary is a big key for them. Herbert, just him and that massive arm. He's going to have Eckler and Keenan Allen to throw to. Mike Williams, it feels like we've been waiting for a breakout year from him since he's gotten in the NFL. Yeah. He has not done that yet, but he has settled in as a decent number 2 option.
That's all you need from him, though, with Keenan Allen back.
But one of the big keys is they have very quietly done a lot to address the offensive line this offseason. Be very key in their improvement. They got a strong defensive line, too. It is just about the health in the secondary that could make or break their attempts to move up in the AFC West.
Oh, and they lost Drew Tranquil, the linebacker. He's kind of like a hybrid linebacker, kind of like Isaiah Simmons, but like not quite as much potential. They lost him at the beginning of the year last year. So look to him to come back and make a huge impact.
Yeah, and then they also need former first-rounder Kenneth Murray to step up as well.
Yep.
But moving on to more competition here in this division, the Denver Broncos. At one point, it seemed like they were so close to getting Aaron Rodgers, which would have changed up this entire division and made it one of the most competitive in the NFL. Now they don't have him. They're in like their second or third year on this coach whose name actually escapes me at the moment. But do you think they can improve this year, Matt?
I think they'll improve a little bit. They do have Teddy Bridgewater now, so a little bit of an upgrade. I think they still have Drew Lock, but Drew Lock isn't that great.
It'll be very interesting to see if Teddy Bridgewater ends up just
Vic Fangio
position and becoming a decent starter for them, or if he ends up pushing Drew Lock to become better. So the first preseason game, it's preseason, but Drew Lock looks a little bit better. And thank you. It is Vic Fangio.
Defense, they got what's his name? The corner.
Or Chris Harris.
No, they got the corner in the draft. They got
Patrick Surtain.
Yeah, they got Surtain.
Yeah,
that was huge for them. Everyone like bashed them. Yeah, they needed a quarterback, but if you have a quarterback and you don't have any defense, then you're pretty much playing in the Big 12. So
right.
Like I like the move. Teddy Bridgewater will be like a stopgap quarterback for maybe 2 years, I'd say. I don't think they're going to be very competitive in this division, though. I think even the Raiders are going to beat up on the Broncos. So I don't have my hopes very high.
Well, one thing I will mention is now they do have Von Miller back. And that was something I definitely could not wait to mention. That was really hurtful to the defense last year. And getting him back, adding Surtain in that defense, he already got a pick 6 in the preseason game earlier last week. So that will definitely help out the defense. This team quietly actually has a decent amount of talent, but that quarterback position is a huge question. And I think it's still a question.
Yeah, but I mean, they went from bottom feeders to potential Super Bowl contenders in like a week, and then at the end of that week, they went back down to bottom feeders because they realized they were not getting Aaron Rodgers in trade.
Yeah. Yep, missing out on Rodgers was huge, but maybe they can get a chance at them again next year. Another underrated thing I will mention is that they do have a strong receiving core.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah. They got if Cortland Sutton can stay healthy this year, he looked like he was on the verge of becoming a beast.
Jerry Jeudy,
the first round pick from last year, he looks like he can be really good if he doesn't drop the ball. And then KJ Hamler's also looked really good this offseason.
I'll tell you what, Jeudy actually looked pretty good in training camp.
Yeah.
I saw a couple of videos and like he may have tested real dumb on the Wonderlic, but he looks pretty good.
The Wonderlic, you say? But moving on to the next team here, the Las Vegas Raiders.
The Raiders.
Now, they have not been able – they signed John Gruden to this 10-year, $100 million contract, and it feels like by now they should have been considered playoff contenders at this point. They are not, I will say, right off the bat here, because I'm not really sure what they're doing. It seems like every kind of area they feel like they're building in, they blow it apart. They had one of the strongest offensive lines in the NFL last year, and for some reason cut the entire offensive line. Doesn't make sense to me. Matt, what are you thinking for the Raiders?
I think the Raiders are always in position to be in the playoff hunt, and then they lose someone to injury, or they just don't beat the teams they need to get in. And then it's like this whole cycle. Like they start off the season pretty hot. They lose a bunch of games. They start winning.
They start the season looking really good. And like they'll surprise people too. It's like, okay, the Raiders are not expected to be this good. They're suddenly in playoff contention. Like last year, they beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. And then all of a sudden, late in the year, they just regressed and were losing to pretty much everybody.
Well, they also have a problem tipping waitresses out in Las Vegas. A bunch of coaches, players, and players' families have been called out the past couple of weeks, in addition to Henry Ruggs getting nailed for it last year. So I think there's a direct correlation on how well you tip and how well you play football. But I don't think they're going to be very competitive. I think they're going to do the same thing that they always do, but with a worse offensive line. I think they're going to have like a decent start, maybe not as hot as they usually are. They'll lose a bunch of games, and then they'll suddenly get hot, and then their name will start popping up in the playoff race, and then I mean, with the one extra game, who knows? This may be the Raiders' year to make it into the playoffs.
Or push them further away.
Yeah,
but obviously, Derek Carr still the starter there. It seems like he's solidly the starter there, but Marcus Mariota is a little bit behind. Do you think Mariota could start at any point this year?
I thought he could start last year, and he ended up not starting. So I think they have talent.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Mariota as the backup because he is that in between, like maybe not necessarily a very good number one, but he's a very good number two. He's kind of like Nick Foles when he was in Philly. You lose your starting quarterback, he can fill in pretty well. Or if Derek Carr just starts playing real bad.
That Thursday night game last year when Carr got hurt, Mariota came in. Mariota played really well. Like well enough that I think some people were excited to see when he starts next, really.
Yeah, I think he may get like a start or two this year. Especially towards the end of the season, whether they're in the playoff hunt, like in the playoffs, or kicked out entirely. I do think that John Gruden's going to have to do something this year. He's going to have to make some kind of trade. He's going to have to do something to bolster this team.
Yeah.
And it just seems like they're stagnant. They may not be the 2-14 Raiders that we know and love from the early 2000s, or mid 2000s, but they're just not that great of a football team.
Yeah, it feels like they're just like not quite the worst, but they're also like falling out of the playoff race with like 3 or 4 weeks left. They like you said, they're just stagnant. Every single time it feels like they're making progress, they blow something up. So
yeah. So prediction.
Instead, Matt, what is your final standings projections? AFC West.
Obviously, Chiefs number 1. This year, I'm going to go with the Chargers number 2, Raiders number 3, Broncos 4.
All right. Well, I'm going to pick the Chiefs first, too. I think everybody is. But the Chargers definitely are a team on the rise. I think they could definitely be a playoff contender this year. That team is very talented. They could play with pretty much anybody. They just couldn't close out games. Now they have better coaching in there, better game management. They'll close out more games this year. Expect them to finish second. Third, I'm going to disagree with you on. I'm going to have the Denver Broncos finishing third.
Wow.
Quarterback play is going to prevent them from being playoff contenders, but I do think they will be a decent team. The Raiders, on the other hand, just the lack of progress is just frustrating me, and I think they will finish fourth.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see who's right at the end of the year.
Who will be right? We'll both get the division winner correct.
All right. Well, that is our show today. You got anything else for him, Justin?
Nope, that is all. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
See ya.